My upload this morning for today's date is with regard to the ongoing issue of bad politics and bad standards that have been practiced and conducted in this offence against my royal title of Fernane, that has fabulous origins and that has been dangerously disrespected in a local community of my birth and upbringing. It's quite insulting to the origins of my family and my family name that bad politics have disrespected not just our family but our constitution of the democracy as well. This has all really commenced as a consequence of my property and my marital rights, during which my marriage caused me very huge loss, caused my child awful loss, caused awful harm to my family, and caused very serious disruption in this community, just to assist those that are of property theft yet again in this community that have been conducting offences against the state fraudulently since 2006. So, as there are such poor standards and such poor behaviours and wrongdoings being conducted, it's really a sad sign of the times that politicians that are exemplary of integrity and dignity, etc., haven't acted in the best interests of the greater good. As I've mentioned, the accomplishments and endeavours of my work have been interrupted by individuals of poor behaviours, practices, and procedures, and there has been a very serious mishandling of information. There have been individuals of nonsense speaking of spiritual issues that aren't actually factual and that have disrespected the spiritual that they have damaged from my sacred light body. So it's quite serious, the issues I'm confronted with, and it's even more serious that politicians of poor integrity have continued to turn a blind eye to the circumstances I'm confronted with. It's quite serious that my beautiful child, Gareth McElligott, born on the 14th of the 10th, 2015, beautiful blonde-haired child, has been harmed so recklessly in an unlawful care order, and ombudsmen since 2017 have completely ignored this issue and have exacerbated it and caused hazards to life as a consequence of the damages they've incurred for me. My rescue rate in society has been quite high. As a consequence of my work, there were quite a lot of people saved from future torment and future loss, and those individuals are aware also that there have been poor practices in this community to facilitate young ladies that haven't been acting with dignity for their family names or their children either. So it's abuse of the Women's Rights Charter, it's a disrespect to women's rights, and it's a disrespect to my family name, McElligott, on both of my maternal or my paternal McElligott family and my McElligott family have been disrespected by individuals that facilitated adultery, treason, harm to my child, financial theft, impoverishment. All of this happened, and it is absolutely disrespectful to women's rights and the marital rights as well, and matrimony. So people have been over preoccupied with property acquisition, and they've gone to great lengths to really risk society for what they have been causing throughout the past 5 years since my child was unlawfully separated from me. The European Court of Human Rights have heard from me. The ombudsmen in this country have heard from me, and there has been absolutely nothing done to resolve or to repair the wrongdoings that I've unjustifiably experienced, regardless of the humanitarian work that I have pursued and that has saved many people's futures. So, it's absolutely a sad sign of the times. And the fact that there are individuals disrespecting my role in legislation for the Department of Agriculture, for the Department of children and family affairs, and education. All of these departments have been positively affected with new legislation as a consequence of my purpose. And it's being disrespected in Tralee County Kerry by bad politics. So that's accommodating a poor collective that have done nothing but disrespect faith and family, and that have trespassed onto my ancestral marital property to accommodate those of fraud yet again in this community. So it's absolutely deplorable that a qualified professional with a clean track record, no criminal activity, no ASBO behaviour, that has experienced these kind of assaults of character and my physical anatomy, that is enduring this matter just to accommodate those that have withheld my child and harmed him from 2017 onwards, and that has been unlawfully withheld from me. It's absolutely deplorable in this day and age. It's a modern day and age, it's a democracy, and this is a sad sign of the times that an innocent mother that has worked for the best interests of humanity and recovery, that the UK and the USA are fully aware of as a consequence of my accomplishments in 2018, have been disrespected. So it's a sad sign of the times that people have espoused a fallacy and have repeated their wrongdoings and falsehoods. And it's a sad sign of the times for Dáil Éireann and the politicians in Dáil Éireann, the honourable government of a democracy, the representatives of the people, disrespecting the royalty of its country and disrespecting the developments that I initiated in this country. So this is to highlight the liabilities in society, the hazards in society that have done nothing in any way to exemplify high standards, high practices, good procedures, or anything like that. It's just absolutely deplorable, and it just brings to mind die Vergangenheitsbewältigung, and the repetition and whatnot of bad mistakes of culprits and repeat offenders in the past, still purporting or perpetuating their bad behaviours and bad conduct and not learning from the past. So die Vergangenheitsbewältigung, as a German erudite, and very fond of the German philosophy and German mentality and the German society and German literature, it's a real sad sign of the times that there have been politicians not respecting positive progress and that have been facilitating inexcusable, unforgivable and intolerable offences against the Royal in Tralee County Kerry, just to accommodate those of identity theft that have been imposing upon me since 2006, creative intellectual theft, professional theft, etc. It's inexcusable. So those poor developments that have not the credentials or the accomplishments that I have attained, have fed into a cycle of not just hate crime and treason, but offences against the state. And for the departments in Dublin, the Dáil, etc., the politicians, it's just the biggest wrongdoing and biggest act of injustice against the baby boy that I gave birth to, a very precious child, unlawfully withheld from me, and liabilities in society being facilitated in their wrongdoings and exacerbation. So die Vergangenheitsbewältigung is a lovely concept, and I would hope that people are learning from the past before any further repetitive measures of injustice or wrongdoings or slander and financial theft from my fortunes is conducted, as I'm uploading. The reparations I'm owed since 2006 are ridiculous, and even more so since 2017. There's not many women in any part of the world that would say their marriage has caused them impoverishment, and the harms are inexcusable for any child to be unlawfully withheld from the best care of his mother just to accommodate people of property theft. It's absolutely deplorable. So it's a poor reflection on the country, and it's sending out a bad representation of the caliber of politicians that have wronged an innocent woman, and ignored their obligations to my royal title and the origins of my family as well, my Fernane family and my O'Regan family and my Griffin family. It's absolutely outrageous what's occurring. So this is just to highlight in Tralee and for the rest of the world that the treason I'm experiencing, the hate crime, the constitutional wrongdoings, the human rights abuses are all being facilitated due to bad politics to facilitate property theft and financial theft and identity theft. So those that have been exploiting the wildlife and nature developments as a consequence of damages to my purpose, and that have been stealing from me creatively and intellectually and professionally, are not, as I've mentioned and stated in a public statement, entitled to any of my works. Legally, the individuals that have facilitated adultery and harms in my marriage and financial theft from my marriage are not legally binding and are not legally equipped to represent my marital rights or any decisions, etc., regarding such circumstances of Tubbard Hill and Kilflynn, which have been subject to very dangerous offences also. So I hope this upload makes it very clear that the Vergangenheitsbewältigung is a lovely concept today, especially with regard to the properties of my marriage and my ancestors, and the repetition of harms caused in society by individuals not learning from the past and making bigger offences against people's faiths and families. And the individuals of silly nonsense talking about spiritual issues after damaging very sacred fragments from my angelic light body, those individuals that are silly enough to purport nonsense are not acting in the best interests of the spiritual principles of light workers or whatever faith you represent, really. So I really hope everyone's learning from this experience of what I'm sharing, and I really hope that bad politics doesn't predominate in this matter because of the objective of acquisition unlawfully from my fortunes and my family. So I would hope die Vergangenheitsbewältigung would be a thought for the day today, and that the honourable government would exemplify some honourability towards my royal family and my beautiful child that I gave birth to, especially with regard to financial and property theft that's occurring, and the creative and intellectual theft that has positively affected legislation in this country since 2018-2019.